How my son sees the world has encouraged and enabled me to see others and their world in a whole new light, especially those adults that are easily frustrated, at times awkward, or just really rigid in their thinking. We all know a few of those. My son is 11 years old, and the journey that I've been on so far with him deserves way more than just a TED Talk. Possibly a talk show. After all, if you dream it, you can do it. Today, I'm going to test your thinking. I'm not a teacher, don't panic. I am, however, a mom, making a point. If I was to ask you, what does PDA stand for? What would you think? The most popular answer, according to Google, because we all love a Google, especially when it's something we believe to be absolutely terrible, is public display of affection. That's not so terrible, is it? However, when the label PDA entered my life through my vibrant, intelligent, at times stubborn son, I quickly learned that PDA stood for pathological demand avoidance. Absolutely unheard of. Pathological demand avoidance is a subcategory on the autism spectrum, and it was first discovered in 1980 by Elizabeth Newson. The autism spectrum is sort of like a big, bright, colourful umbrella, and PDA is simply one of many magnificent raindrops that falls underneath. Pathological demand avoidance is the anxiety-driven need to always be in control. Isn't that every man? Imagine walking on eggshells around someone every single day. They're like an active volcano, waiting to erupt into an explosion of destructive behaviour. But they can shower you with love and affection the very same day. This was a very interesting discovery during my son's first week at his second preschool, at the tender age of 4.5. The mornings would start off full of excitement and enthusiasm. I would walk him up the 3 steps, through the 2 white doors, and into his classroom. Bye, Mom, see you later. His little voice, so sweet and innocent. Obviously, I took a sneaky peek in the classroom window just to make sure he was okay. Because we do that, don't we? We believe that our children need us 24/7. A relative of mine working in a school once said, when he starts school, expect a few phone calls. Whatever did she mean? By 10 a.m., the phone rang. Hi, Christine. Can you please come and collect your son? He's flipped a table, he's broken a few things, and we can't calm him down, and it's really distressing for the other children. The uncertainty and stress from that teacher was oozing through the phone. By day 4, as I sat in my friend's kitchen, crying in sheer frustration, the phone rang again. I imagined my future. If my little boy can flip a table at 4, what's he going to flip at 14 or 24? Will it be me? Will it be his sister? If he's breaking small things now, what could he break when he's bigger, taller, and stronger than me? I dried my eyes, hugged my kind, supportive friend. Those friends are invaluable, by the way. And I made my way to the school. The 5 minutes in that car seemed extra long and lonely, as I just kept thinking of answers to help my little boy. Now, you could call it a light bulb moment or a bit of intuition, but I knew what I needed to do. As I apologised to his teachers, yet again, he held my hand and we walked along the grey paved path exiting the school. "Sorry, Mom," he said from a side-eye glance. What he didn't know is I love a challenge. And I too was once a mischievous, inquisitive, slightly demanding child. So this was a challenge I was going to accept fully. I didn't exactly have another option, really, did I? You don't get a refund with children, so I couldn't exactly hand them back anywhere. The easiest way to understand PDA is the Jekyll and Hyde personality. If you can imagine, you have two people living inside you. Both of them are battling to escape every day, one more than the other. It's like flipping a coin. You get heads one day, tails the next. You never know what you're going to get. But it is during the unpredictable days that you actually find a level of predictability. By the time my son had reached 8 years old, we survived through many experiences. Locked in bathrooms, opening upstairs windows, trips to A&E. One trip in particular involved an X-ray to see if the toy he claimed to have swallowed was stuck inside him. Now that toy was found, but not inside my son. Oh no, that toy was at home, underneath the blanket. And the trip to A&E, dare I say it, was a pre-planned trip by my son because he wanted to see a picture of his insides. He made some friends that day as well. One child had a sweet up their nose. The other swallowed a coin. I remember one summer evening shortly after that. We were sat, cuddled on the chair in the kitchen, and he looked at me and he said, "Mom, I can feel how sad some people's hearts are and how angry their souls are. And it makes my body feel so uncomfortable." Whoa. I had two choices in that moment. One, dismiss it as absolutely ridiculous. Or two, understand the depths of this feeling within my son even further and support him to strengthen his inner peace. After all, it had been about 4 years of alternative and complementary therapies, and this level of awareness in my son at 8 years old was evidence of the work that we had been doing together. The anger and frustration had melted into creativity, laughter, and self-awareness. Although at times his humour is questionable, like the time he left a drawing on his teacher's desk of a pair of cheeks. Not the cheeks on your face, the cheeks you sit on. Let me ask you this. What did all the generations before now do that may have had a diagnosis of PDA or something like that, and they never knew? Those that were told they were bold and stupid and no good in school. The relative that shouts and roars and storms off if they don't get their way. The person that sabotages others' special days. The people accused of being narcissistic. Could they possibly be autistic? A street angel, house devil is another fine description. I'm sure by now you can all visualize that someone in your head. My son is a master manipulator, but I have become a chief negotiator. He can avoid the most basic request, such as, "Put on your jacket." "No, my hands aren't working today, Mom." I'd like to think he's not intentionally trying to stress me out when he does this, but it's one of the ways he copes. It's one of the strategies he uses to feel safe within his own body. You see, the anxiety that is driven from PDA, it's like fizzy bubbles in a drink. They're always there. By educating him on this, he realizes the things that make him feel extra fizzy or extra flat. PDA is sort of like learning a different language in another country. You would prefer if they spoke your language, but you actually gain so much more from understanding and learning theirs. By replacing can you and will you with could you or would you in a softer, gentle, more inquisitive tone of voice, it works wonders. During this year's Easter holidays, my son decided he was going to learn to cycle a bike because at the regular age of 4 or 5, it was an absolute no, no, no. So, while most of the country were at home, sanitising and staying in their bubbles, I was on the street, telling my son he couldn't cycle. You'll understand why in a moment. As I said, the PDA brain, it works with indirect and opposite communication. So I've noticed a little bit of reverse psychology goes a long way. At the park, however, I momentarily forgot my indirect praise, and I praised him directly. I told him he was doing a great job, and down the bike went in a huff. So, after a quick discussion of me asking him what he feels would work best, he said, "Mom, tell me I'm no good. Tell me I can't do it." Okay. His granddad was well on board for that, and he found delight and humour shouting across the park, "You're absolutely useless. You can't cycle at all. You'll never do it." Much to the shock and horror of all the parents and other passers-by, my son cycled effortlessly around the park, and he was beaming from ear to ear. You see, in that moment, I gave him back the feeling of control. I didn't demand he do it. Therefore, he felt safe and comfortable enough to want to do it. Does my son know he has PDA? Of course he does. He was there for all the appointments. Did I sit him down and list off all the side effects like you would with a prescription? No. This was simply a label. It was our choice on how we were going to choose to live with it. I chose to see my son for who he is. By involving friends, family, and the teachers, I have created a support network. There's continuous communication between us. After all, if you can manipulate people at that age, it's good to educate others on it. I'd love to share 3 of my top tips with you on what has and is working in our life, PDA or not. 1, accept the Jekyll and Hyde personality. Realize they are just one magnificent person. It's not your job to change them. It is, however, your responsibility to change your reaction on how you respond to them. It's so easy to have a big temper tantrum when they're having a big temper tantrum. But trust me, you will both be deflated, defeated, and exhausted. I learned the hard way that if I'm not managing my emotions and my triggers, how is my son ever going to learn how to manage his? Be open-minded to all levels of support and therapies. Add in a little bit of humour along the way. It helps during the less predictable days. 3, realise you will always get back the work, the effort, and the commitment that you put in. By self-regulating your emotions and finding your inner peace, you become a catalyst for others. PDA might mean pathological demand avoidance, but I've learned it also means pretty damn amazing. I'd like to leave you with this final point and ask you what new beginnings now await you and all the difficult characters in your lives. Aladdin from the Disney movie, simply called Aladdin, sang it best when he reached out his hand, inviting Jasmine to step on to his magic carpet and explore the world through his eyes. a whole new world, a new, fantastic point of view. Thank you.